Women on Reddit. What is the most soul-crushingly horrible thing a guy can do to a girl without being aware he's doing it? Talk about beautiful female friends in a way that makes them all sound more intelligent, talented, and fun to be with than the girlfriend. He puts them all on a pedestal and has a tone in his voice that says you are not as good as them. And then when you call him on it, he refuses to let you meet them because he thinks you will be a B. I suppose it's not as bad as some of the things you could do, but I remember trying to hold my ex's hand one time while we were walking to meet our friends across a street, and all he did was brush it away like it was something really annoying. And the worst part was they all saw it. That really hurt. Guys, girls, if you don't want to hold hands, here is the easy out. Take offered hand. Give a brief squeeze. Smile at guy girl you are with. Release hand. Repeat if necessary. Lie to spare her feelings. My ex went on a road trip to visit some old friends. When he came back, he told me that he had thought about our relationship and he didn't want to see me anymore. He seemed very distant, like he was hiding something, and it was distinctly different from his normal behaviors. I was confused because I honestly knew, in my head and my gut, that we had been enjoying our relationship and having a general fun time. My gut kept telling me to push him and call him on it, even though my mind wanted to take the higher road and just let him go. I didn't want to be a crazy ex, but I just had to have closure. Something was off, wrong, abnormal, and it was driving me batshit. Long story short, I got him to tell me his road trip to visit friends included his ex-girlfriend, whom he had never gotten over, and slept with while there. He realized she was more of the one for him than me, and promptly moved to be with her. Getting the truth made dealing with the loss so much easier. It honestly wasn't me, it was him. He did enjoy our time together, and there was nothing wrong with our relationship. He just had the ex who trumped me. Completely understandable. So, men of Reddit, get the frick over letting chicks down easy. The truth is so much more logical and less soul crushing. It's sweet that you want to spare us the pain, but it doesn't really work that way. I could have gone on forever thinking something was wrong with me, when I wasn't the problem at all. EDS. Should you read this? Thanks. It truly made things so much easier. I googled you about a year later. I'm glad you're happy. You deserve it. BTW. I regret nothing. We had fun. End of. Except when it's some girl I hardly know that I met on Plenty of Fish is worth breaking up our year-long relationship in which we share an apartment and in which you supported me for half of the time because I was freaking unemployed. But hey, I'd rather go nail this skank than be with you anymore. Make her feel stupid and incompetent. My ex-boyfriend hurt me in many ways, but the worst thing he did to me by far was to make me feel stupid. He did this by constantly correcting and criticizing everything I said and did, often in front of others. He even corrected the way I tied my shoelaces. After a year of this, I became very doubtful about everything I did and incredibly defensive. It had such an effect that 7 years later, I almost cried when my husband tried to show me a faster way to fold t-shirts because I thought he didn't like the way I folded them. My ex used to moosh around all my extra flesh during freaking, not in a pleasant massage sort of way, but in an unconscious, ew, squishy thing. I will play with it kind of way. You know how nice it feels to knead bread dough or squash a beanbag chair? It is terribly off-putting to be reminded that some parts of you are pleasant to play with because they feel like bread dough. Crap, I do that a lot. The term "stop poking my fat" comes up a lot. Chubby girls have to realize that some guys like chubby and it doesn't bother us, turn us off. I do realize it's not because of that reason why it bothers people. Just saying. Yelling at you in public. So humiliating. I've yelled at my girlfriend in public, but only after she tried to claw my eyes out, so I figured decorum had long since been broken. Joking about any of her flaws, no matter how minor, no matter how humorously, in the presence of friends and or family. My wife's family are a lot of fun, at least in the sense that I can usually get some good laughs out of them. I'm not that funny, but they're an easy audience. I've stepped over the line once or twice, so now I concentrate on public figures and self-deprecating content. It's different than making her mad. Much worse actually, as I could see that it hurt her. Also, physical flaws. Come to terms with them on your own and never, ever mention them. If you're okay with it, be okay with it and shut your mouth. If you're not okay, then get out civilly and never let her know what it was that drove the decision. Later she'll find someone who can be okay with it and she'll be fine. But if you tell her you can't deal with it, it will impact her self-image and make it that much less likely that she'll find someone to be okay with it. He constantly freaks out about my whereabouts, every missed call and every scrap of paper with a phone number on it, checks my texts, etc. Just basically has no trust in me. I get that you have to earn someone's trust and all, but we're at the point where I'm starting to wonder if he's doing all the stuff to me that he's worried about me doing to him. A quick way to ruin a decent relationship. Whoa, get out of there already. I find one of the biggest differences and causes of conflict between men and women is how they view time in a relationship. Guys tend to be more present oriented, whereas women tend to be future oriented. Looking back at previous relationships, 9 out of 10 times right when I had thought that everything was going along perfectly, like say we'd just gone for a nice weekend vacation or out for a romantic dinner date the night before. And I'd be laying in bed with my arms folded behind my head thinking, you know, this whole thing is pretty dang alright. She's a great girlfriend, and I've been a great boyfriend. That is inevitably when she'll come in and ask where I see the relationship going, when I'm told that we're stuck at a stage and need to move forward. It's the same with the aforementioned vacations or dinner dates. Girls love the preparation and the anticipation, whereas guys just want to make sure that things go off without a hitch. We are incredibly focused on one task at a time, and when it is finished we like to lay back and relax. Guys think that was really great. Girls think what's next the horrible thing is, both sides are in the right yet they don't agree with each other. Men are right in that it is important in life sometimes to just sit back and realize what you have, where you are, and who you're with, without worrying about how things may change in 10 years. Women are right in that it is important for a relationship not to stagnate, and that if you aren't planning on a future together then there isn't much point. And if you are planning for a future together it's important to have goals and a plan to make that future secure. This difference in perceptions of time has caused me the most grief in my relationships. It is infuriating and yet quite beautiful how the genders complement each other in so many ways. Call her another woman's name. I did this multiple times with my wife. Called her my ex-girlfriend's name a few times when we started going out, and to this day I feel myself sometimes needing to bite my tongue. It's been years, but still, Ignore her and wander off for the whole evening while at a special event you were both invited to, such as a wedding. It's extra awful if she put a great deal of effort into dressing up. Pro tip, this is bad even if she is a bridesmaid. Just because she can't focus on you until after her ceremonial duties are over, that doesn't mean you should disappear for the entire night. For people who don't know, bridesmaids are usually done once the reception starts, the party part of a wedding. My husband is always doing this to me. He gets irritated when I don't want to attend, I hate small talk and mingling, and wonders why I get pee when he leaves me sitting in a corner with a bunch of people I don't know, who for some reason seem to think I want to talk about their baby's first solid bowel movement. Lying to her without knowing that she knows you are lying. I usually just blurt the truth out, no matter how crass it is. I'd rather be dumped for telling the truth than lying. Of course, that might be why I'm single right now. Not meaning to sound like a complete butt, but if all of these tiny, unintentional things crush your self-confidence, maybe you gals should, you know, work on your self-confidence. It seems that would be more productive than asking the universe to be nicer to you. Note, this is the same advice I myself received when whining to a women's forum about why chicks don't like nerdy guys. Their response was that it would be easier to change myself than to expect all the women of the world to change. They were right, and I have never been happier. Staring at the computer screen while we're attempting to tell you something declared as important at the beginning of the conversation. Sure honey, whatever. I'd just like to point out that my first thought was how could he be unaware of it? Grammar people, help me out here. I feel like that sentence isn't complete because a quotation is on the outside of the exclamation point but the tone of the sentence changes if I put the exclamation on the outside. What to do? But anyway, I think the worst thing you could possibly do to me without intending to hurt my feelings would be, If I confide in you about something really serious to me or something I'm sensitive about, if you respond like it's not that big of a deal. Here's an over-the-top example, fictional. Lately I've been having these nightmares about my father hitting my mother, even though I know for certain he never hit her. It's making me feel really weird in the mornings and I don't know what to do about it. Weird. So what do you want for dinner? I like how one post completely contradicts another post. Women are different. Get to know them individually and you'll find out what to do and what not to do. And women, you have to tell your guy what's wrong. If he doesn't know it, it's not fair to be upset with him. You're not even giving him the chance to make it right. Furthermore, he'll just keep on doing it because he has no idea. There are certain things that guys have come to expect of women as a whole, and I have to work hard with a new guy to change his perception of me. I have to convince guys that it's okay to do this or that without me getting upset. Freaking women ruin it for me. I'm tired of having to train every new guy. Which is funny because when they move on to the next relationship they have to be retrained back to their old ways. So I guess I ruin it for other women too. Ignore her when she's always talking. Allow her to expose herself in public without her burqa. That's a stoning. My opinion, breaking plans, forgetting to call, standing someone up. I don't care what the frick happened. Pick up your dang phone and send a text. Man, been married 9 years. We were together 7 before that. I've seen a lot of guys treat their gals like the comments in here. It doesn't end well for those couples. I really don't have any advice for you folks trying to find a match. All I can say is this: my wife and I have never had a fight, ever. We disagree on some things, more so in the past, not so much these days. We just state our points, find some middle ground and accept the other's opinion, and move on. We have never once had an all-out yelling match and wouldn't even consider getting physical. Heck, I can only remember 3 times I've ever raised my voice at her. I felt like total crap each time. I think it's interesting that all the comments are from men of their interpretation of what women's answers are. My woman's perspective is not believing in himself and needing other people to tell him he is great, not only including me. It's hard to see someone you love so much not love themselves. I don't know about the needing other people to tell him he is great part, but sometimes I really hate myself. I know it bugs my wife, so I've gotten pretty good at hiding it. Only remember 99% or so of the hajillion things she tells you every day. I realize I sound nasty there. My GF's a wonderful lady, but she'll tell me something like we're going to dinner with Ziz in October in between sentences while we're walking the dogs at 5:30 am. And when 2 months later October rolls around, she's livid that I don't remember at all that she told me. It drives her absolutely batshit. Or when your girlfriend mumbles quietly when talking, or talks from another room, or talks while not facing you, and you can never hear her, and gets upset, not only when she has to repeat herself, but when you don't remember something she said because you weren't paying attention. It's simply tragic that one can say something in 2 seconds that will have an effect on another for the remainder of their life. Everyone has flaws, and if we can't learn to accept our own as part of who we are, how can we expect other people to? It seems like the mindset is, I hate Y, so everyone else must hate my Y too, when the reality, based on what I've read here, is that people are often very accepting and even, in some cases, loving of others' flaws. TLDR, we all need to lighten up and let things go. Everyone has flaws. Last time I had a guy over to visit, I cleaned it up really nice. The second he walked in he said, no offense but your house is really clean. Me, what? Later on, when I was chit-chatting about stupid things, the subject came up of OCD. I was arranging my restaurant cutlery, and I brought up the fact that I suspect I have OCD. His response: don't take this personally, but I can tell from your apartment, with all the things lined up in straight edges. TLDR. Don't start any sentence with no offense, but don't take this personally. But I don't mind guys looking at other women. Goodness knows I look at guys, but the most soul-crushingly hurtful thing a guy ever said to me was 3 days after my daughter was born. My husband called me fat. I have always been careful about my weight and have never, other than when pregnant, been overweight, but it hurt so very much that nearly 9 years later, the memory still hurts. Don't say thing when you're angry that you don't mean. Those things sink deep. And saying well I was just angry, I didn't mean it doesn't make it better. Push her away when you're most upset. If a girl really cares about someone, it's so difficult to watch them tear themselves apart and not be able to do anything about it. I understand that everyone deals with things differently, but helplessness is such a terrible feeling. 1. Pretend she never asked him out. 2. Continue to be her friend. 3. Vacillate between treating her like a friend and flirting incessantly, leaving her up in the air for months. Step 3 is obviously where he went wrong. I think at the core of most women's fears are either abandonment and or rejection. I think with every hurtful thing that my boyfriend has done to me, not listening, secretly talking to his ex, not appreciating me doing his laundry or cooking dinner, etc. It has all boiled down to me feeling rejected and of no value. Although it's most likely unintentional for him, it still stirs up those self-conscious insecurities in me. Oh, also, when you're in a fight with your GF, do not tell her to relax, or I don't know why you're going so nuts over this. Ugh, those comments, especially the latter, really makes me want to kick his jewels. Also, though not soul crushing, I always laugh at your jokes even if they're not funny. So if I'm trying to be funny, albeit they're lame, can you please return the favor? It's awkward for me when you don't. No can do. People who laugh seriously at dumb jokes are dumber than the joke teller, and if they force laughter at dumb jokes then they only heighten the awkwardness. Guys are insecure about the former and will only do the latter if they're socially incompetent. Tell her you're in love with her, and then take it back the next day. Do this repeatedly. Talk about your ex constantly, compare current girlfriend to ex out loud, in front of girlfriend. Respond to gifts and nice gestures by saying you can't pay someone to love you. Just ignore her, period. Of course I ignore her, period. When you are out to dinner or what have you and the guy checks out another woman who thematically looks like you, only skinnier, bigger boobs, longer legs, better hair, and then looks back at you and sighs. I look at every person, ugly, hot, male or female. Staring is one thing, but looking at for a second isn't necessarily mind-fricking them. Just keep that in mind. I've noticed girls I'm dating are notoriously terrible at determining who I'm checking out and who I'm not. When I actually am, I get away with it, and I've been accused of it when I wasn't. Listening intently while multitasking as she's discussing something she deems very important. Much pain ensures. Much pain ensures. You, sir, are brilliant. One typo away from 2 valid inappropriate sentences. Much pain ensured. Much pain ensues. Treat her like she's your ex. Bad stuff happened in your last relationship? That sucks. Do not make the mistake of treating your new girlfriend like your ex-girlfriend. Or worse, it's unfortunate that you couldn't work things out with your ex, but treating your new girl badly just to see if she'll stick with you through thick and thin is the surest way to get her to leave. Ladies, I apologize for my past ignorance. Neither you nor our fledgling relationship deserved this. What she did was never your fault, and my own immaturity led me to believe that being mean right off the bat was a good way to find a girl who'd stick by me. Long story short, really bad idea. We used to say I love you and he would say it back, but now I say it and he says nothing. That really hurts. I don't know if we should just break up or he just is confused about what he wants out of life. He just graduated college and we're apart for the first time since we started going out. Playing Team Fortress instead of Redditing with me. A year and a half into a serious, fully physically active adult relationship wherein you've explored every inch of each other's bodies. Ask her in all earnestness whether she has any tattoos. Don't let her know when you tell other people things about your private life. Not soul-crushingly horrible, but definitely not a good idea. Being selfish in bed. My ex always wanted to frick. Every fricking night. If I wasn't in the mood he'd just fool around with me until I finally gave in. He was terrible too. He'd just get off and then that would be it. He would never try to make me feel good. He'd never try to get me to orgasm. It was just about his pleasure and that was it. Some memorable moments: he wanted to sleep with me, the night I found out our cat had died, the night of a close friend's funeral, the night I'd gotten an IUD in just hours beforehand. First 2 cases I was extremely upset, sad, and the last case I was in discomfort. He turned freaking into a chore that took me ages to get over. Thank God my new boyfriend is actually considerate and always tries to fulfill my needs as well. I know my wife gets frustrated with how many guys refuse to be friends with her. They always want more. She's not flirtatious, but whenever she makes a new friend that's a guy that she thinks she could be good friends with, a guy starts getting a huge crush on her. This makes her uncomfortable and she makes it clear she's in a committed relationship and has no interest in him. But often he continues trying to convince her to go for him. Eventually she has to end the friendship and the guy ends up hating her because she didn't love him back. This is really douchey in general though. Pretending like you just want to be friends but really only being there to become someone's lover is much more douchey than a lot of what these people accuse the buttholes of. Seriously, is it really impossible for single guys to be friends with married women? Unfortunately, a lot of time the nice guys fall into this category. Many people think they're nice guys but are, hopefully unintentionally, huge douchebags. I get really annoyed when people assume my guy friends are only friends with me because they want to get in my pants. Regardless of whether they do, and it really doesn't matter. It's so insulting to assume there's nothing else about me that they would want to be around, which assumes they're faking interest in what I'm saying, faking the laughter at my jokes, lying to me, etc. Ignoring what you're saying. I think a lot of divorces happen because women fail to be clear enough about their problems, and men fail to listen closely enough. And one day she explodes and leaves him and he understands nothing. Why didn't you tell me before? I seem to see this story quite often. Repeal the 19th Amendment granting women the right to vote. That really pisses them off. Not when you hedge it in terms of ending women's suffrage. That actually gets a thumbs up more often than not. Talking about the perfect ex-girlfriend that the new girlfriend will never amount to, and making the new GF feel like she will never amount to the ex's status. I wasn't invited to her wedding and I was really upset about it. It really hurt my feelings that she didn't want me there for her big day. Seriously? Dude, you're her freaking ex-boyfriend and it's her wedding. Why would she invite you? And even more so, why are you still flirting with her and bringing up your relationship when your new GF and the ex's husband are sitting next to you? And one more thing. Why are you leaving her as the beneficiary in your will? If you want to leave your money to a charity, you shouldn't need her to pick them out. What the frick, pardon the rant, but this one's fresh on my mind. I would say compare my attractiveness to one of my good friends. This seems to be pretty common, at least in my experience. I had a friend who not only flat out said my friend was more attractive than me, but then started making fun of how I look. I, of course, got pretty pissed and he retracted the statement, saying he was only joking. I also have a friend who was going through a rough patch with her boyfriend that eventually led to them breaking up. In the midst of this rough patch, he decides to tell her that her best friend is not only hotter than she is, but that is interested in asking her out. This is pretty much the shittiest thing you can do as a boyfriend, because you're not only hurting her self-image, you're messing with her friendship as well. Basically, don't compare girls to their friends. Don't tell your girlfriend that you think one of her friends is attractive, because without fail her thought pattern will go to, does he think she's prettier than me? Does he want her more than he wants me? Don't screw with our self-esteem like that. We're told from every direction that we need to be beautiful to be desired and loved, and anything that makes us feel less beautiful is crushing. The flip side of this is that women shouldn't ever compare how a man treats them or how well he provides for his family to anyone else, because a lot of men's self-esteem is tied up in that, and it shouldn't be messed with. Seriously, I'm not being sarcastic here. Make promises and then not follow through. Sleeping with someone else right after breakup. This correlates with the amount of time you have gone out with a girl. The more time you are in a relationship with her, the less time it takes to find a W in your bed. I know we girls have no control over this and have no right to expect control, but it still hurts more than anything else. I imagine it's meant as I feel bad. I'll frick someone and feel better, but on our end it's a frick you and all the love you've given me all those years. You were always expendable. Equally soul crushing, fricking a girl and telling her you don't think you should be together. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.